wherever you are in the world today. I hope you're absolutely fantastic. I want to start off with the announcement. And the announcement is that I won't be focusing on Bitcoin for the market updates. Instead, I'm going to move towards the JPY pairing, so either euro or the pound pairing, and focus on the Dow Jones instead. There are a few reasons for this. One of the reasons, whilst I was just doing some demo testing on certain configurations of my I decided just to open up $10 trades. And when I did that, immediately as I opened them, what I started to notice is that there was a minus like 1.5, 1.7, sometimes 2 just by opening it. And this is kind of if price was moving with the direction I was hoping it would go, or alternatively, more often than not, it just was default. Let's call it minus 1.75. So, said differently, that's almost 20% just by opening a position that I now need to make up whilst I'm obviously trying to get to target. So that 15% on top of my position every single time I open up a trade is very expensive. So for the expense of Bitcoin is, I don't think, worth it in terms of the crypto sphere versus the established markets like the JPY Forex pairing and the Dow Jones, which is obviously quite a powerful player worldwide and a household name. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is that in the time zone that I'm in now, which is basically on GMT, I'm able to do the JPY markets in the beginning of my morning, and then perhaps in the afternoon as well. It seems like after lunch it picks up quite well, and even in the evenings. In fact, it does very well throughout. The same thing with even better, the the pound JPY pairing. It feels like that went a little bit higher, which is obviously very, very beneficial for that extra top up of profit. So both of them are strong contenders, both in my morning and in my afternoon, and so on. Even the evening looks like it's got some good backing behind it. And the Dow Jones is pretty phenomenal. I'm not sure if I got one loaded up just yet, but I'll definitely have one from tomorrow. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, I'd say the Dow Jones, I think it might even be a tad more risky, in fact, than the previous two. Quite often you'll see the Dow Jones will just sling up and down, which is not good for stop losses, and it will quite heavily lean into bigger news, which is actually setting us back a bit because there's certain days that you aren't allowed to trade because the news is out there. Prop firms just won't allow it, which means that you miss out on that. But I think the lead up to that day is that most of the guys who are using other exchanges that don't have the same rule will wait until that day and then just jump on it. Like, for example, when there's a Fed announcement and Powell has something to say, for example, the markets go absolutely mental on the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. So either way, I'm going to be walking away from Bitcoin. And I think in contrast, the point I'm trying to get to, I suppose, there is that Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have that reliable volume coming onto the chart. Like, for example, JPY, I typically see a good morning move, good afternoon move. Now with an evening move, I'm not sure if that's consistent, but I mean, that's super profitable. The US, I think I will consider in the afternoon. There are some hiccups, as I may mention too. There's news, but with Bitcoin, there's often quite a lot of flat action, and I don't necessarily like that. For example, there it ranges over there, it kind of flattens over there, ranges over there as well. kind of ranges within the price range over there. So that for me is higher risk. And with the additional expense of that extra 15 to 20% just by opening a position that I got to cover on the expense of something that's crypto isn't necessarily what I really want to focus on when I can be focusing on these very healthy markets. Very little, this is, I think, like Sunday evening stuff, and then opens up very, very lucrative opportunity. A quick play over here, this is not too bad. You can still make some money over there. Obviously, ignore that. This is kind of the lunchtime, boom, and you just let it ride open and just allow it to clock up over there and then inverse it over there. So that's my plan. Feel free to join me in moving over to these new markets. If you're a die-hard Bitcoin fan, I do apologize, but a piece of advice I've got for you is don't fall in love with the market, fall in love with the money that the market provides for you. Like, I'm not married to any one market, and if it treats me badly for long enough, I divorce it. So this is basically my divorce to Bitcoin. I'm not too phased at how far it will go up in price because I'm not someone who holds and hopes. I mean, I don't even know what the ATL is for this year so far. I haven't really given it too much thought because I don't care too much. But yeah, it hasn't really broken past 70,000 since May. Since August. And it's just kind of hanging out over here. So sure, if you're the kind of person who likes to hold your breath and see what happens this time next year or this time in 4 years, then that's great. And I suppose these market updates wouldn't be adding too much value to you anyway. But yeah, I'm a day trader. I like my morning session. I like my afternoon session. And if I'm allowed to, whilst the kids are kind of getting ready for bed, I might throw another trade in over here, which of course my AI is guiding me through each of the plays. So that's the announcement. I hope I've added some value in terms of broadening your horizons into an area that is just outside of your comfort zone. If you're looking, or if you're curious as to what to do in terms of how to move away from Bitcoin, because I mean, look at all of that, how boring. And I hate waiting. I'd rather have the markets kind of active than have to sit through this rubbish. It's just not for me. But if you're looking to maybe get out of your KuCoin or your Coinbase or your other exchanges and get onto an area where that trades the JPY pairings or the Dow Jones, etc., my recommendation is go to FTMO.com. That's the prop firm provider that I like to assign or associate myself with. And then once that's loaded, you'll see that you just got to get some login details and then connect that to something like a MetaTrader 5 if you don't want to use the online platform. And then from there, you've got access to all of the different options available when it comes to markets instead of just limited to crypto. I think I want to jump off this call with the correct approach to asset management. Asset management is to have non-related markets as your portfolio. So what I'm trying to say is that if you got three main markets, don't have them be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, for example. You want to have something that's absolutely got nothing to do with the other. So here's, I think, a good example of three non-related markets. You got you got Forex, you got Indice, which is obviously the Dow Jones, and you got crypto. So having three absolutely non-related markets means that you can trade at least one of them every single day and use that to get towards your daily profit target, rather than having to sit through quiet period times and having to wait for market structure and confirmation and so on and so on and so on. You can go over here and say, right, okay, that's not healthy. This is not healthy right now. But this is looking fantastic. So you can profit. And, maybe tomorrow it's not quite the same, but you've got other markets. One last tip before I jump off. my recommendation is to get to know just a handful of those markets, maybe three at most, of your non-related markets, and then get to understand its rhythms, get to understand how it reacts, get to understand the culture behind it, the open bar activity, what happens during midday, if there's any afternoon reliable activity, and so forth, rather than just getting stuck onto one, or the extreme opposite, just jumping between different markets all the time, going from Monero to like your nano coins to all the various crypto markets, which are somehow kind of all correlated because it's in Bitcoin. So it's a bad investment for over time. Anyway, don't cycle through a bunch of random markets. Don't cycle through markets that are co-integrated. Rather, just have three dominant markets that have got the buying power behind them, and then stick with those, study those, and become very comfortable with them instead of trying to master all, but eventually not mastering none. Okay, guys. Yeah. So from tomorrow onwards, I'm not going to be doing Bitcoin. I'm going to be doing the JPY and the US 30. So Euro JPY or British Pound JPY and the US 30. And if the US 30 continues to look rubbish like this, then I might drop this and find something that is going to provide something that is a bit more bankable and predictable. That's it for today, guys. Ciao for now.